$9 billion gone, not through complex schemes or elaborate heists, but through something far simpler, our own mental blind spots. And this is a true story.
Google the richest women in the world, but there was one woman who was the richest woman ever, Elizabeth Holmes. She ran a company called Theranos. She started it herself, dropped out of college to start this company, and it was a total fraud. It was all fraudulent. She's going to jail forever. She was worth $34 billion at one point. It was a blood testing company. They falsified all sorts of data, and they lied to investors and all sorts of shit. She used to dress like Steve Jobs. She wore a black turtleneck and everything.
Elizabeth Holmes didn't just build a company, she built a mirage. And some of the smartest people in the world fell for it.
Across the world, Dr. Phyllis Gardner was equally disturbed. As a professor at Stanford University, she knew Elizabeth Holmes as a student there.
Up until that point, the way that they had to draw blood is
before she famously dropped out and acquired the Steve Jobs attire.
So dehumanizing that it's an incredibly emotional process.
And before her voice changed.
Well, it's wonderful to be here. I started this company because...
And what about the deep voice? Did she have the deep voice when you were dealing with her?
No. I was shocked when I heard her voice.
So how did a 19-year-old college dropout convince billionaires and military leaders to invest in technology that never worked? The answer lies in three powerful psychological traps. 1. Authority bias. Holmes stacked her board with former secretaries of state and military generals. Our brains are wired to trust authority figures. But here's the catch. None of these leaders knew anything about medical technology. Number 2. Narrative bias. Holmes didn't just sell a product. She sold a story. The next Steve Jobs. Revolutionizing healthcare. When a story feels good, our brains often skip the fact-checking. Finally, social proof. When billionaires like Rupert Murdoch and Larry Ellison invested, others followed. After all, if they are in, it must be good, right? This shows that the most dangerous traps aren't the ones others set for us. They're the ones our minds set for ourselves.
Well, Elizabeth Holmes has reported to a federal prison in Bryan, Texas. The disgraced tech executive founded the now defunct blood testing startup Theranos. In November, a judge sentenced her to more than 11 years in prison for fraud and conspiracy after she raised many millions of dollars from investors by making false claims about her company.
Check out my book, Unfunk Your Mind, which has 365 such logical fallacies, cognitive biases, mental models, and critical thinking techniques to create the best you. Available on Amazon and uymhub.com.